what will I talk about today? I will talk about how to do red teaming, or actually how not to do red teaming, what can go wrong, what people sometimes misunderstand about red teaming. And I'm doing this because since quite some time, like 1-2 years now, I'm researching on red teaming, how to do it, because also I didn't really know. And if you want to know more about red teaming, there's also this book, which is not written by me, but by some people in the US, which I read, and it's awesome. It's Red Team Development and Operations, which you can get on Amazon, I think. And I kind of want to give you an idea of what is red teaming, what did I learn in the last years, and we also did a few projects already on red teaming, so what we learned while doing that. What will we learn today? At first, I think more people know what a penetration test is than red teaming, because it's a concept which is around for a long time. We'll still go a little bit what is a penetration test, so that we understand what is the difference to red teaming. Like what is the difference there? And then an important thing is to know, why should we do red teaming? Because I often heard people, you have to do red teaming, or they want to do this and that, and they think it's red teaming, but actually it's not red teaming. Actually, what they are doing is wasting money. So we will talk about this, how to do all of this, get better security through by not spending more than you need to. And yes, of course, also what is not red teaming is all in the title. We'll also talk about that. So just some rules about this meetup. I mean, I'm doing a presentation here, but if you have any questions, please just ask me. If you are shy, you can get a beer. It helps. I learned this many years ago, so if you don't know, do that. So this is me. Nikki already said it. I'm Martin. I work at SPR Research here, which Nikki already said enough about. I think I don't have to go into it. And I am in the commercial sector, and I do mostly penetration testing since many years now, but also red teaming, which is kind of the new thing. It's a growing thing in Europe. Some EU frameworks require you to do red teaming now, so it's coming. And we already talked about before a little bit. Yes, in the US, or I think in the Americas or in North America, it's already quite a big thing. Here it's coming, so this is why we are looking into it. We also do, or I also do some trainings on Windows security, and I'm kind of a Windows person, which can be good or bad. I mean, I like it kind of. It's what companies use, so you have to know about Windows. So actually, I mean, normally people do not come to us and say, I want to have a penetration test. I want to do red teaming. I mean, actually, they sometimes do that, but I mean, what they think in the back is, I want to improve the security of my company. I want to improve the security of something. I want to test it. I want to get better at this. So I came up with a very simple scenario, not even IT related. I want to improve the security of my home against the break-in, because everybody has a home, I guess, and maybe you even have a safe there, and there is some valuable stuff in there. And we have here our red teamer, hacker, whatever, who is trying to get this valuable thing. So I will try to explain those concepts basically with that. So problem again, I want to test the security of my home against the break-in. Does anybody have any ideas what you could now do? Like, you want to go to a company and tell them, I would like you to do this for me to improve it. A better door. A better door, yes, very good. You can ask them to do a penetration test. Oh yes, very good, very good. So we already have two of the things. Yes, we have a third one.
You can apply some frameworks for attack surface reduction.
Yes, that's a very complicated one, but yes, we can do that. Definitely. I don't know how I would apply this on my apartment though, but
I can integrate automatic testing tools.
We are talking about an apartment here. Because I don't want to get it too complicated, because else we will all talk about CI pipelines and so on. Please.
Do a preliminary analysis on what attack vectors might look like.
Yes, that's a very good idea.
Don't invite any people to your home.
Maybe one last one.
Check that your windows and doors are actually closed and locked when you go out, and not just leave giant holes that people can come into?
Oh, that's a very good idea. Yeah, I actually now we got all of the things that I have on the next slide. I will put them in a little bit of a different way. I put like, yeah, think like a criminal. What could go wrong? Like, of course, if I don't have a door, this is more maybe a problem. If my door is made of cardboard, maybe a problem. But at some point we will, like, I mean, I'm not an expert on how to secure a house. At some point I will be like, I need an expert. I need a locksmith or something, and I need to get them to go in and look at this lock, and they tell me, okay, this lock that you have there can easily be lock picked or something like that, or those windows are bad because of whatever reason. And then this might sound a little bit too much, but employ a person to actually break in. They would then maybe test, as he said, that whether the windows are actually locked or the doors are locked all the time, because they would really try to break in, maybe look at the apartment and see, okay, I didn't lock the door, and they will go in. So this is basically bypassing some security mechanisms, which I guess none of us would do in their private home or apartment, but this is maybe something that a company would do, like for a company that is highly secured. You guessed that there's a mapping. I mean, first one is kind of common sense, just like thinking like criminal, what could go wrong, what could I improve? Then this is kind of a penetration test. We get an expert, we give them a key, we go with them maybe through the apartment, they check the windows, they check the doors, they check safe, whatever, and look through all this, and they write a report, and we get that. And the last one is kind of a red teaming, because we actually employ somebody to do a real life attack. I will go a little bit more into what is red teaming later, because right now I think it's not so clear yet, or at least what matters is not so clear. Yeah, I said first step is we have to understand what a penetration test is. Penetration test is about finding and exploiting vulnerabilities with the full knowledge of those people maybe living there. So you will actually invite a person in, and we'll show them around, and they will tell you this is wrong, this is wrong. They might, in a web application, they might ask you, how does authentication work? And you tell them. It's an open book. You want to find as many vulnerabilities as possible in a short time. I made up some example findings for our scenario. I mean, it's all fun. It's all kind of, I had some fun making those up. The door is made of cardboard, of course. Like, this is maybe something we could have also guessed, but maybe the penetration test found that the material of the door is not very good. I already spoiled this a little bit. Door can be easily lockpicked, is also something that a locksmith might find out. Ground floor window, we actually had this also as an example, can be easily smashed. Safe combination is 1, 2, 3. And also this one, I mean, there are those 3 pillars of information security: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. If the apartment is very flammable, this is maybe a problem with the availability. So don't do tests in production systems, because your apartment is set on fire maybe. But of course, this is more like in a web application. You will not have another apartment which you can test. Yeah, so the thing is now, how long does it take? Because actually, we also don't want to pay a huge amount of money for that. I'm just guessing, depending on your apartment size or house size, whatever, it takes 1 to 2 days to test all of this, and then you do some reporting, whatever. So this is actually quite quick. You find a lot of vulnerabilities in a short time, and you have a result that you can work with. You can replace the door and so on. I will, because I realized maybe this example is not the most understandable, let's put it in a web application. The different, like, how would it work there? The testers will be given accounts, maybe internal documentation, access to the web application. And they can, of course, ask you a lot of questions, like, how does the authentication work? Why did you do like this? Or what was your idea behind that? Yeah, so if you see this, or if some people in companies see this, especially not so IT security yeah, people who do not know so much about IT security, they will be like, oh, you get accounts, but an attacker wouldn't have an account. An attacker wouldn't have access to the internal VPN. So some questions like this arise. We also have them often, or sometimes when we do penetration tests, like the system is internal, so show us how you actually got into the internal network, or an attacker would actually not have information like this. So this is not real. Why? What is the short answer to this? This saves you a ton of money, because I don't have to demonstrate how could I phish somebody and then access the VPN, and yeah, I don't have to spend a lot of time to do this and that, because time is of course money. If I work on a week on that, costs more than 2 days. Yeah, that was a penetration test. Next thing, what is red teaming now? Or how would it work in our example? So red teaming is simulation or emulation. More on that later. What is the difference here? Of a real burglar trying to break in and steal some stuff. Like you saw this picture before, generated by DALL-E, which is, by the way, great. I use it in all my presentations. So the important thing is here, the people will not be informed. The people living in this apartment will not be informed, because of course, else they would just sit there and wait for me to come. And often you do a simulation of the whole attack chain. I mean, I said before, this is one of the criticisms, but you do not have to do a whole simulation of the attack chain. More on that later. We have some other example results here. I will later have a table on how this compares. So an example result might be the resident didn't lock the door. Simple as that. There was no, you didn't even have to pick the lock. They just didn't lock the door. Then the alarm system went off, but it could easily be turned off by the burglar or by the red team. The safe was then cracked with a weak combination. Maybe it was also written on a note or something. And the burglars left without a problem. So basically, in the end, they got the thing that was in the safe that they wanted to get. How long does it take? It takes way longer. I mean, again, just guessing, it takes way longer than a penetration test, because you have to, like, the attackers have to plan it. They have to plan it. They have to maybe even rent an apartment or a hotel room next to this apartment to look when does this person leave, so that I can go in, or that how do they normally lock the door, or don't they lock? So it takes a lot of time of planning. And then the execution has to work, of course, because you cannot just say, okay, sorry, I will try again in 2 hours. This will not work. So there is a lot more effort to do that. But I have here a table comparing the findings side by side. You can see, I mean, again, example, but penetration test finds different things than a red team. Penetration test, for example, found a lot of problems about how to get in, like a cardboard door, bad lock, ground floor window, which was not, which could be smashed, or the bad safe combination, not getting in, but another thing. Whereas the red team found other things. The door wasn't always locked. How can a penetration test know? You invite them in your apartment, they would not know. This is a process vulnerability, basically. In a company, you would say maybe there is a policy that the door always has to be locked. Was it actually done? In an apartment, of course, this is basically what you did wrong. But yeah, in a company, you would say, is there a policy? If there is no policy, this is a problem. You should implement a policy that the door should always be locked. And if it's not done, you have to monitor this maybe. So bad safe combination is in both. And this alarm system, which is basically the detection and response or a detection system, was also bad, which is something that the penetration test just didn't test. It could maybe identify it, but it's not really the primary scope of a penetration test. Test also if the alarm system works well. What happens if there's an alarm? Because, I mean, in a penetration test, it's not a real alarm. Everybody will know. Yeah, so the takeaways until now are pen tests find many vulnerabilities, like a lot. In a certain time frame, you can find a lot of vulnerabilities. That's the goal, to find as many vulnerabilities as possible and show how to exploit them. Whereas red teaming finds a way to a goal and documents the observations on the way. So this doesn't find so many vulnerabilities. We saw, like, if this vulnerability is not exploited, maybe they document it even if they found it, but it's not the goal to find a lot of vulnerabilities. We saw the effort is a lot higher. And yeah, the focus is not on the vulnerabilities, but on observations on the way and maybe on an attack path. So when does it make sense to do red teaming? This is a very important thing because people want to do red teaming, and then I have to tell them, actually what you need is a pen test, because you need a mature information security. You need some kind of monitoring, because it's not about finding vulnerabilities. If you want to find vulnerabilities, do a pen test. It's cheaper for you. You need processes to react to those alerts. So it's like you have logs, then you monitor those logs, and then you react to those alerts that are generated through monitoring. So you have processes like, if there's an alert, if a virus is found, this person, like a person, has to go there and deal with this or analyze this further. So yeah, we have this malware download. So you need a process which will then in turn be tested through red teaming. Whether, I don't know, maybe the one problem could be that the malware or the incident response person will just download the malware and execute it on their machine, which is of course bad. Or they are like, okay, what can I do now? I can maybe set up a VM and analyze it in there. Also bad, because there should be a playbook already in place. I mean, malware downloaded, I don't know if you receive malware alerts from other people, it happens all the time. So there should be a playbook for that. Yeah, so red teaming is about finding problems in detection and response to attacks. Yeah, and what is often misunderstood here is, I mean, of course, I already said it many times, red teaming is not a good way to find vulnerabilities. If you don't have monitoring, if you don't have any incident response, don't do red teaming, do a pen test instead. Okay, but finally, let's go into it. What is red teaming now? It's simulation or emulation of realistic cyber attacks. Again, sorry, I will have a few slides more, then I will explain different simulation and emulation without the knowledge of the system owners. Why without the knowledge? Of course, if you want to test detection and response, the people cannot know, because yeah, they will just sit there and wait for you to do something. Yeah, the focus is attack detection response. I already said this, and it's basically testing the resistance against a real cyber attack. A pen test can also help you a little bit there, because it will basically help you mitigate some vulnerabilities, but can only help you. Red teaming is really about a real cyber attack executed all the way. You have those 5 phases, and some of them are optional. I will go into all of them in detail. So you have threat intelligence at first, which I will explain on the next slide. Some preparation. Then you have getting in, which is like getting into the network, which is also optional in some cases. Then of course the red team does some attacks, because this is basically what they do. And then you have, of course, the most important and most fun step of reporting and debriefing. I mean, yeah, maybe some people don't like it, but it's probably the most important one, because if you cannot write reports, like, yeah, nobody will buy your red teaming service again. So yeah, I have some examples here. So threat intelligence, the first step. What is threat intelligence? Threat intelligence is an optional step which changes whether you do simulation or emulation of a red team, simulation or emulation. At first, basically, you will just go there. You have a company that you want to do a red team engagement with, and you think about what threats are to this company. Maybe it's a company in the banking sector. Maybe it's a company in the Germany, Austria, Switzerland region, or nowadays more important, is it a company that deals with Ukraine? Is it a company that deals with Russia? There are different threat actors that are a threat for your company. And then you pick the threat actor. It can be some APT from some nation state hacking group or a crime group, which can be, by the way, the same. And then you emulate this. This is this emulation step where you basically try to act like some state hacking group, some crime group, whatever. And this is the important thing, because if you don't do this whole thing, you can also simulate it, which basically means you just do whatever you think is best. You're basically your own attacker. If you emulate it, you will work really like this threat actor. This might sound a little bit weird, but this is at least how it is. There's a new EU framework coming out where this is definitely required. And it also makes sense because you want to defend against real threat actors, not against this company that is doing red teaming. So then you have some preparation steps where you just gather information, basically prepare the attack. You get some information on social media, like a list of people and their departments. The website maybe has some interesting information. Who does this company deal with? Maybe you can write an email and impersonate somebody from this third company. Data leaks are, of course, always interesting. If somebody leaked somebody, let's say there's a Facebook data leak and there's a password in there, and this person used the same password in Facebook and in the company email. This password reuse and could be used to maybe get into this email account. And of course, also the public infrastructure. There's a lot of basically publicly facing services of this company can be used to get in somehow sometimes. Yes, please.
I found out myself a very effective way to do reconnaissance on a company's infrastructure is just go to a job interview and ask them.
That's also a good idea. Yeah. When they look for an admin and it says, yes, you need to have these and these skills because this is what we use. Exactly. Next step now is getting in. We have this information. We can do maybe, we use those credentials. We can do phishing with this information. Of course, if you just write a phishing email, your package is ready. Most probably nobody, some people will click on it, but not many. So it's very better if you have some inside information. If there are vulnerabilities, you can maybe exploit them in a red teaming engagement. Of course, watch out. You don't want to take down the email server or something because you exploit something. Physical attacks is also a thing. So actually, this is really just examples. There are so many ways on how you can get in. You can be extremely creative. And again, this step is optional. Why is it optional? If you don't do this, it will be called assumed breach assessment, because companies know that you can do this. Like, you can phish everybody. I guess everybody of us can be phished in some way if you spend enough time on it. So companies know that this works and they just want to cut this short and tell you, okay, fine, I will click on your malware and then we continue with the next step. With the remote control, actually. This is what happens when, after you click the malware, just for you, if you don't know how a malware like this normally works, one of the types of malware is a command and control framework, basically, where the attacker creates some malicious software here and then sends it through whichever channel. And this is then executed on the machine, connects back to the attacker, and the attacker has then full access to the machine. Can basically type like they were sitting in front of the computer, or can looking over your shoulder and see what you're doing. So this is, of course, extremely valuable for an attacker, and and this is how it normally works nowadays. The other type, this is normally how those attacks work nowadays. Then we have some execution of the attacks. here it depends a lot on the network infrastructure that is back there. Are there some file shares? This is always fun, file shares with passwords or some data already there, then you don't have to do much. Confidential information on notebooks already. I mean, if you fish the CFO, I mean, it's game over kind of normally, at least in a public company. Or Active Directory. I mean, especially in penetration tests, you do a lot with Active Directory. It's an awesome tool for admins, but it's also, I mean, it's very powerful. I think I don't know an alternative which is as powerful, but it's also extremely nice to attack it. And then, as I said, most important step, report and debriefing, because here, this is actually really important, because else you might, again, still have a very expensive pen test. So what should be in there? There should be kind of a detection chapter where you say, okay, which attacks were executed, which attacks were detected, which attacks were not detected. Yes, please.
How important do you think it is to sit down with the blue team in this example and have like a debrief with them in order to gain understanding about that?
Very important. Actually, it's not in here, but this is the debrief. Like, to sit down with the blue team and talk about what happened. And I mean, normally they anyways want to improve as well.
Do you have any stories of where that was a challenging conversation?
Not really, actually. I think they're normally quite happy. Nor really like, no, not really. I mean, they are, I think it's normally fine. I don't know. I didn't really have this. I heard in the past, but more at pen tests that people were a little bit reluctant to do and say anything. But I think this changed maybe a lot since, I don't know, a few years. So which attacks were detected, and of course blind spots. Like this could be, I don't know, something stupid. There's no antivirus installed on clients. Doesn't make much sense, but could be one of those. Are there any blind spots? Was something not detected? And then, of course, we have to talk about the treatment. Was it fast? Was it effective? And was it well defined? This is again this thing. So at first, of course, if there's an alarm, is it treated like in a few minutes? Does it take hours? And was it effective? Did the person just say, actually read about, I think in Ireland, there was a hospital, there was a malware alert on a domain controller, and they were like, it's nothing, it was deleted. And a few days later, the hospital didn't work anymore. But so this is not effective then. And well-defined, of course. As I said, if the malware or the incident responder is like, okay, I have a malware, what do I do now? Maybe I install some machine. This is not well-defined. This is just doing what you think is best. You should have playbooks and stuff. And then you write down some observations, basically what makes attacks easy, what makes them hard. Maybe the security awareness is extremely good. Or maybe you have I can't think of anything now what makes attacks easy. But also security awareness is very bad. And again, problems in the incident response process. Maybe there's only one person receiving those emails, and if this person is on leave, it's not forwarded. So, So again, what is not red teaming? This finding vulnerabilities in a real attack doesn't really, it's just too expensive. Like you can do it, but it doesn't, it's just expensive. And if the report doesn't show what I just showed before, if it just shows like what was done, because this doesn't help anybody really. Like, yes, they know the company can be attacked. Like we all know, I guess, that with enough effort, you can hack everything kind of, but it should show those other things where they can improve. And this is a very important, it's not a quote, but it's kind of written also in this book. A red team without a blue team doesn't make any sense. So if there's no blue team, why do you do red teaming? There have to be the two. So in summary, pen test is about finding vulnerabilities in quite a short time. I mean, it can still be quite long, but shorter time than red teaming. And you basically have a lot of help by the system owners in a pen test. can ask them a lot of questions. They know that you are it. And yeah, red teaming it's about identifying problems in processes. So like we said, the door was not locked. This can never be identified in a pen test. This is something that was done wrongly. Yeah, and about detection and response. So basically those three things, processes, detection, and response is something that red teaming focuses on. That is it from my side, but we are doing a little bit more about red teaming now. So my colleague, our most dangerous colleague, Oz, I will give to him because he will in September talk about something else that he will quickly.
Yeah, just a quick teaser, I guess. So in September, I'm going to be talking about modern attacks and enterprise defenses. This will include a journey of how initial access techniques, mostly phishing, evolved in the last couple of years, and what is the countermeasures to detect them and to respond to them and to improve your company security.
Thank you. Thank you.
The exact date is not scheduled, but it will be announced on the Meetup page again.
Actually, no, anyways, we have questions now. Time for questions. Let's go, please, because this is it. Thank you very much.